Welcome to Unfinished, the channel where I finish the projects that I started. Today I'm going to be working on a T800 Terminator head that was designed and modeled by Hex 3D. I probably spent a year and a half working on this. Some of the issues that I had were just like getting the flesh tones right. Getting flesh tone is really challenging. I didn't realize how challenging it was actually going to be. I probably painted this thing 4 or 5 times. A couple times he turned out like Donald Trump. He was just so orange and ridiculous looking. A couple times he just turned out super pink. That was really weird looking. One time he turned out and he looked like he was from the Addams family. Super pale. It looked cool, but not what I was going for. I finally got something that looked right. I had to learn a lot about washes. I had to do a lot of research and practice with washes. I would have never have guessed before I did this project that washing your flesh tone color with blue paint would actually make it look more realistic. Turns out it does. Seems really counterintuitive, but it actually worked really well to add that wash to the skin tone, and I'm super happy with it. Now, one of the things that happened when I was doing this model, or actually when I was preparing for this video, was that I was about to come on here right now and say, I've finished this thing. But as I was holding it up doing my practice, I realized that the back of this guy's not painted. This is supposed to be a metallic color. Obviously, this is all supposed to be painted back here. There's a spot on his head where there's a metal piece showing, and I didn't paint that. So I'm going to have to go back and finish that before I can truly say that this model is finished. I'm not going to show you the front because it is done. I'm going to wait for the reveal until the whole thing is completely done. Now, this really highlighted something for me, and that is getting to that point in a model or a build or a project where you're pretty much done and it's just loose ends to tie up. I would just call these loose ends because honestly, if I put this up on a shelf, no one would ever know that this wasn't done. I would know, somebody who picks it up and looks at it would know. If I wanted to sell this to somebody, they would definitely know, and they would have an issue with it. So, in order to really say that I finished this model and be honest about it, I'm going to have to stop this recording, and I'm going to have to go back and finish that. So, bear with me while I jump back over to the painting table and finish up the painting on this. And we're back, and I got those sections that I said I was going to do finished up, and now I'm going to take you through the actual process that I went through to finish this on the front and to get everything done. So the first thing I had to do was just add some of the details. As I mentioned, I really struggled with the skin tone on this. It at first didn't look right. It was orange, it was pale. I finally got to this, and this is just the straight up base coat that I did. I did add a little bit of highlighting to the eyes. I added a little bit of brown on the eyebrows, and I'd filled in the bullet holes. The one really tricky thing was getting the lips right. A lot of times they just ended up looking like they were pink lipstick or red lipstick, and it just looked ridiculous. Until I discovered that to do lips, you just have to do the straight up skin base coat that you would do on all the rest of it, and just add a light wash of red or pink just to give it that little more depth. And that's kind of how the lips came out, and I was really happy with the way that they turned out. So before I got to doing any more of the detail on the actual skin, I wanted to do some of the details on the cuts here. I was using CMYK colors at the time when I had originally did these, so they came out more purple than they did red, because I just couldn't get a nice blood red out of mixing up CMYK. So I just went out and bought a red, and that worked out really well, and I added some of those details to make it look a little bit more realistic, look a little bit more fleshy, and that came out really nice. Then I had to go over the ears, and I wanted the ears to be a little bit more pink, as they are. At least mine are. I'm a pretty pale white dude, so extremities like that are a little bit more pink, so I added a little bit of pink in the ears, added a little bit more depth inside the ear canals. And then I mixed up this blue, and I added that as a wash, and that really gave a realistic depth to the skin. It's amazing how much blue is actually in skin tone. And then I just went back over with a little bit of pink to add some of the pores, to add a little bit more texture to the face, and it ended up coming out really well. The next thing I had to do was paint up the hair. So I wanted to go through and get the hair right before I moved on to anything else. And that kind of involved painting along the transition between the hair and the skin. Now, I've tried this a couple different ways. In the past, I've masked off the skin to paint the hair, and that leaves a really sharp line, doesn't look right. I've tried freehanding the transition with my really fine detail airbrush. It looks softer, but it just doesn't look right. So I decided to go with a brush and then just dab in some brush strokes along the transition so they actually look like hair follicles. That gave the most realistic approach. It's really hard to do hair transitions and skin on flat plastic models. Like, if you're not using actual hair or the hair isn't textured individually into the model, it's really challenging to get a transition from a hairline to a skin that looks really well. This was kind of the best option I came up with, and then I just went over and airbrushed in the rest of the areas after I'd done it with the hand brush, and it came out pretty well. So I was pretty happy with that. Accidentally overspraying the skin color onto the hair gave it a nice texture. Once I'd got all that done, I realized that the metal part of his face was just too flat. There was no texture, there was no washes or anything done, there was no extra color details or anything done on any of the metal parts. It just looked like a piece of plastic painted silver. So I went back, I mixed up this dark silver and added some texture into these joints, into some of the smaller areas, just to add a little bit more contrast. And then I actually flattened out, or sorry, I thinned out that mixture quite a bit, and then started adding these details. So I added a little bit of a dark edge, a little shadow edge along the metal to flesh part. And then I went over and gave it a wash. And it wasn't until I did this wash that it started to look like actual metal. And I gave it some highlights. I gave some of the ridges more highlights to allow the brighter silver underneath to come through. And then I washed over the flatter parts with the darker silver. And that really gave it that nice titanium look. Added a lot more depth to the metal side to make it look a lot more realistic. And so I was really happy with the way this turned out. And in just a couple of seconds here, you are going to get to see the finished product. And I am so very proud of the way this turned out. I learned a lot of new things doing this project, even though it took so long to finish it. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that you think that this project turned out as well as I think it turned out. I'm really impressed with the way it came out. Considering my skills, and this is sort of new to me, especially doing realistic skin tones. You saw me do the thing hand in the earlier video where I kind of went with a more pale look. That was a lot easier to achieve. Getting a realistic living skin tone, even though it's a machine, was really challenging for me, and so I'm really proud of the way this turned out. I'm really proud of the skills that I was able to learn and to work on while I was doing this project. And I really hope it doesn't take me a year and a half to complete something like this again in the future. And I'm actually really looking forward to tackling skin tones again. I have a couple behind me that I'm going to have to work on in the near future. So I'm really excited that I have these skills and I have a little bit more resources now to be able to do this kind of thing and do it right. Do it in a way that I think will look good. So if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you hit the like and subscribe button below. Please subscribe to the channel. It really helps me a lot if you do that. You can also check out my Patreon. Right now, I can't monetize any of these videos, so all of the ads that you're seeing while you watch this, YouTube is making all of the money off of that. So if you check out my Patreon, I post some videos on how I do these things, some of the methods that I use. It's very cheap. It's like $3 a month. It's nothing, but it does go a little bit to help offset some of the costs and the time that I put into making some of these videos. So please check out that Patreon and consider becoming a member of my Patreon. Cheers, and until the next video.